Number 6.
In the late 1980s, there was a boy murdered 2 streets away from me. We live in an upscale small suburban town. He was stabbed multiple times and the scene was described as gruesome. There was no sign of a break-in, so when he got home from junior high, someone must have come in after him or was waiting for him. There was no motive, he was just a little boy. There was an investigation, but that turned up nothing. I've searched the internet, but I haven't found anything. The parents moved and I never really heard what came of this.
Number 5.
For many decades, there was only one hospital in the area I grew up in. Their closest competition about a half-hour drive away. For about 20 years, they've had a reputation for screw-ups and questionable patient deaths. Both as a patient and being there for family members, I've had multiple experiences that made me agree with that reputation. Several years ago, there was a big to-do, as someone was murdered there. Their killer got past security after visiting hours, bypassed all medical staff, and then suffocated their victim with a pillow. Their body was found with the pillow still over the victim's face, a fact that police reported in an interview on the case. Time passes and news reports come up that the victim was strangled with cords in their hospital room, then the pillow was placed over their face. A few days after that, there was a new report. There was no murder, it was apparently an accident. The bedridden victim somehow found the strength to get up, gather the cords in the room, then pulled them tight enough to choke themselves to death. And now there was no mention of the pillow the police noted as being there. The media dropped the story immediately after that last report, with no questioning about the changes in the report. On top of that, if you try and search online, the local TV stations seem to have totally scrubbed their old reports, except for one, which has the accident version of the story and nothing else. About 20 years before this, I got to witness a similar change in the facts regarding the reports of a fellow who had died because it looked bad for his employer that his death was because he did something stupid while losing. I honestly think that the hospital used its clout to force the local media to bury their original reports and go with the accident theory, so as not to get a worse reputation. I feel like someone got away with murder in part due to them wanting to protect the brand image.
Number 4.
Back in the 1940s, my hometown had a streak of about 10 unsolved murders, all believed to be committed by the same person. All of the victims were teenage couples. They were usually killed while doing it in their cars at midnight. The incident came to be known as the Moonlight Murder Spree, and the mysterious killer came to be known as the Phantom Slayer. This seriously threw the entire town into a huge panic. People stayed inside all summer, they didn't go to work, and they only went outside to buy food and weapons. Parents pulled their children out of school to keep them safe. Pretty much every window in town was boarded up. All of the shops were shut down before sundown. This man had the town in the palm of his hands, and nobody knew who he was. Even stranger, several people have come out claiming to be the Slayer, but due to inconclusive evidence, none of them were ever convicted.
Number 3.
My 6th grade science teacher was and remains the only suspect in the murder of his wife in the 1970s, and was believed to have fed her body to his pet alligator. He moved to Idaho sometime after his wife's murder, where he was a middle school teacher and became the county coroner. He was my teacher in the mid-90s. One of my former classmates recently showed me the article, and it freaked me out. This teacher lived next door to the school, and sometimes he would let us come over and feed Pogo, his pet alligator. He was seemingly obsessed with death. Although he was our science teacher, all I remember him talking about was deadly diseases, The hantavirus was a favourite of his. Deadly animals, he had a pet Gila monster, and he talked about carbon monoxide poisoning a lot.
Number 2.
In the small town of Skidmore, Missouri, there was a man named Kenneth Rex McElroy. Everybody called him Ken Rex for short. In the town of 440 people, he was basically the ruler. He bullied people. He robbed from them, threatened them, and assaulted them. He made a living by stealing cattle. He even carried guns through downtown. No one was brave enough to stand up to him. Ken had even shot people before, but no witnesses would testify. It all changed when he wounded the owner of a local grocery store with a shotgun. Ken Rex was convicted of assault with intent to kill. However, he was freed on bond. The townspeople were furious. After he threatened the surviving grocer with a rifle, a group of Skidmore men surrounded his truck one day as he was leaving the bar. Just as he reached for the ignition, his wife Trina screamed, "They have a gun!" Shots rang out, and he was hit twice in the head, killing him. The group dispersed. Nobody ever came forward to claim responsibility. They never spoke of it from then on, referring to it only as the incident. Trina slowly grew more and more paranoid, claiming feverishly, "The whole bunch of them was there. They all know who did it." A federal investigation revealed nothing. The DA declined to press charges.
Number 1.
Back in 1998, I was in the 2nd grade and was coming home from school alone for the first time. I had overprotective parents and I lived only a block away from the school. I was stopped by an elderly woman who said she had to tell me something. She said she had no husband, had lost her son years ago, and just wanted to give me a hug. Something about this woman gave me the creeps, and now later thinking about it, she did act, talk, and look really weird. Almost like she was a man dressed in old women's clothing. But this could just be my juvenile imagination playing around. After asking me for a hug, she reached her hands towards me in the motion of one, waiting for a hug. I took off and ran as fast as I could all the way home. As I ran, I think I heard her laughing really loudly with a really low manly tone. When I got home, I told my mom about this, but she wasn't worried at all and told me that she probably was only an old and lonely woman who just needed a hug. Here in Finland, we have this magazine called Alibi, which has the most recent news about burglaries, thefts, murders, rapes, etc. And for some reason, an 8-year-old like me was not allowed anywhere near that kind of a magazine. But a few weeks after the incident with the old woman, I did get my hands on one of those magazines, which was a brand new one. I read about an incident that happened in the area where I lived. It was about a boy my age, last seen by his friends, hugging an old woman and walking somewhere with her, just to never be seen again. The case is still unsolved today. I think I might have escaped being kidnapped or murdered or something. I still remember this today, and over 20 years later, it still gives me the shivers.